Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. It's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Kingdom Leader Class Galvatron. Now, before we get into the review, I gotta send a huge shout out and thank you to Mason, who is a viewer of mine and who I saw was selling this figure. Now, for some time I had been looking to actually pick this figure up. The problem though, in case you don't know, is that the initial release of the figure does have a misassembly error. Now, Hasbro has corrected that problem, but instead of waiting for that release, I saw that Mason was selling his, and what was really nice was he already went ahead and did the fix himself. Again, we'll get into all of that here in a little bit, but I just wanted to say again, thank you to Mason, who, as I said, in addition to doing the fix, was nice enough to sell this figure to me. Also, it was cool that he included the packaging. As you can see, you do have that nice Transformers Kingdom logo down here with the Transformers text, Generation logo up there. Gorgeous image of Galvatron right there in the front and the side. Love that art. That's really super cool. Then you do have the open window that showcases them. Come around to the side here. Gorgeous art of the different Kingdom characters. I absolutely love that art. When you go around to the back, you can see that he transforms in 33 steps. Then you got images of him in his robot, his cannon mode, and his accessories, which obviously, as you can see, is the Matrix of Leadership. Top section here has that nice Decepticon logo. Bottom here doesn't really have much other than warnings and things like that. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. And here we have Galvatron opened up out of his packaging and obviously in his cannon mode. And you know, it's kind of funny. I went back and watched my review of the Titans Return Galvatron, which came out 5 years ago. And in watching that video, I was going on and on about how great that figure is. And nowadays, we're talking about the Earthrise figures, the Kingdom figures, all of these as being basically mini masterpieces. So 5 years ago, as much as I like that Galvatron, it is really impressive to see the evolution of things to what we have now. If you would have asked me 5 years ago if we would have gotten a better Galvatron, outside of getting a masterpiece one, I probably would have said, nah, that'll never happen. But here we are. This guy is really well done. One of the parts that does make this stand out as being a better figure is it doesn't have that triple changer thing built into it. It also doesn't have that headmaster gimmick. So when you remove those parts, you're able to focus on the figure itself, and it absolutely shows here. Now, starting off first, as you can see, he does have some extra accessories plugged onto him. He's got his cannons right here. He also does have the Matrix of Leadership. You kind of just dangle it there. A little bit unfortunate that they didn't give us a metal chain. I mean, I could probably do something myself, but you can see that you have a gray molded chain. You can remove this. It just pegs in there, but you got the little hole section there, and then you have the Matrix. This is the same one that has come with Optimus, and I want to say Hot Rod. I don't remember. But you got a Matrix for him, and literally you just dangle it there. Now, the thing that kind of stinks is because it is molded in there, it is designed to work with him in his robot mode. You can see his chest is going to be there, so it's going to dangle there. Here in the cannon mode, you don't really see it. You see the chain, and then it's pointing down. So that kind of stinks, but, you know, it is what it is. Now, like I said, he does have these cannons. They just peg in here along the side. The thing that's kind of cool about them is that they are designed to look like his ship from the 1986 film, the one that he got from Unicron, which I think they call it the Revenge. I don't know if they've ever called that in the show. I don't know where that name came from, but here it is. And it looks really good. Now, you can do this ridiculous thing where you can plug it together, and you can have this big giant gun thing here. You got handles on both sides, but I think that looks cool. It absolutely looks like that ship. I think it's wonderful. Now, one part that is really cool, if you have Unicron, you got this. This is one of those little Autobot shuttles, and you can have this with it, which, honestly, I don't think that scales all that bad. I know that his ship was pretty big. That's actually pretty decent in terms of a scale. Now, I don't know. I'm looking at the peg hole here. That's a round section. I don't know if you can attach this anywhere, but I kind of like the fact that that seems to scale decently. So you can do something like that if you want. You got two of them, so it is what it is. But Galvatron, though, as a cannon, looks fantastic. You can see you got this section right here, which allows you to kind of get a little stabilizer thing. You can angle it back a little bit more if you wanted to kind of, put it like that. If you wanted to get a little bit more of an upward angle, but then you can't really do anything with these because the angling is a little bit off because it's on the shoulder section here, and you can't, when you rotate it, it ends up going on an angle there. So you can't do a ton of like pull back poses or something like that. But as it is, it points forward, and then here, keep that like that. So you can kind of angle it, but not a lot, honestly. Most of it is going to be like this, pointing forward. So that is a little bit unfortunate. You can't get more of an angle back, but hey, you could tuck this up. You can do that, but obviously that's going to, I guess you could kind of do something like that if you really wanted to. But like I said, you can't really rotate this around because it's on an angle here, so you're kind of stuck almost with it just being out to the side. But, you could do that, like I said, if you want to. You do have wheels here on the bottom, so keeping that there. You got wheels here, and then you got wheels here, so you can, if you get it down flat, it can roll. Doesn't roll all that great, honestly, because it kind of drags a little bit. But, hey, it's a giant cannon, so there it is. Really very cool, though. You got the nice purple color. You have silver. You have gray. I do like the silver they put in there. I do wish it was a little bit more silver throughout it, but it's not terrible. Quite happy with it. I like the silver that you have in there. I mean, it's nice. It's a giant space cannon thing. Now, for transformation, we're going to take this off, and we're going to take this off. Now, you're going to want to plug this in like that, so you got a little peg hole here in his. Now you have this. You can also do it on this way, but then when it sits on his shoulder or forearm, it sits down really low. So realistically, you should do it this way so that it kind of sits up a little higher. So we're going to set that off to the side. Then come around here. We can take this, tuck this under there, bring that up like that. Then now this part of the transformation, I would probably say this is the most nerve-wracking part. We're going to take this and we're going to pull these pieces away like that. But there's also a little clip point on the inside here, which it's kind of hard to see. And you got this little clip that literally comes around and it's going to slot in there. It feels, I don't want to say thin, but I just that I'm a little bit worried about over time. It's a pretty thick little clip thing. I just don't like how that feels. So we're going to pull that away, separate that just like so. Come around here to this back section, wiggle this, pull this away. Let's see, come on, wiggle that. There we go. There we are. Pull that up. And you got a little section right here that you're going to hinge that up. Just kind of get that out of the way like so. Then this whole bit right here, get these kind of out of the way for now. Fold that down. Then you're going to take this bit right here. This is going to swivel back. You got a separate hinge piece right here, so you got a double joint that you have to do things with. So bring these bits down, and then you can straighten out his leg. Keep that like so. Now this part does get a little bit tricky to do. You have to pull this apart, and it's not easy to do. So just kind of, there we go. You could see that. Just kind of put your finger there and just kind of pull that out like that. And then this is going to hinge forward and all the way around. So bring this around, keep those legs straight. This is going to come back. So when you bring that back, bring this forward. Just like that. And then this piece here, you're going to actually bring that, it shifts a little bit. So bring that up, set that down so you can have that now flush. Then bring this piece back up, and this locks into place like so. Now this, if you didn't hinge this little piece back, like you can see there's a double hinge section here, you want to take this little peg section and plug that in the back of that cannon. So just kind of hinge that to the point where that clicks in there. Take this, fold this up. What's happening? Oh, there we go. So before you do that, because there's a little tab right there, so rotate that forward and then bring that up. That locks that very securely into place. Bring these pieces up, bring these pieces up, bring this down, fold that down, fold that down. Go ahead and separate the legs. Rotate here at the upper part of the thigh. Bring this piece back. Come on. Like that. Bring that around, and then you've got a little slot and tab. Just push that right there. Push this right there. Now, you don't have to do this. He stands pretty decently otherwise, but you do have heels. So just fold these bits out just like that. But it does create kind of a weird look. But like I said, you can leave it back. He stands okay without them, so it's personal preference. Then bring this piece up. You got a double section here. So you got this little tab that's going to lock in here. Push that in. And then this piece on the inside is going to lock in there. So just push all that in. Rotate this around. Do that on this side as well. Now, as I was talking about, the majority of figures right now that are out are misassembled. Hasbro has caught the problem. Open this. I'm just talking while I'm going. And the majority of the ones that will be going out, I would imagine fairly soon, will have the fix. If they don't, what you're going to basically have, get that all the way locked in there. Is that okay? Is that this is the correct assembly. So again, shout out to Mason who made that possible. I really do appreciate it. You do have to pry these apart and then reverse the assembly, because otherwise this is where, now this is the wrong kind of configuration, but you can see how much lower this sits. This is incorrect, but the misassembled piece will have this piece in the front, but shifted down. So you can fix it. If you get the one that is assembled wrong, you can rotate it around and it will sit up higher, but this will be the front of it, which does look a little bit ugly, to be totally honest. So literally, you're going to have to just like lift it up and rotate that around and then rotate it there. But because Mason was able to fix this one, the shoulder section is now assembled correctly, and these little tab pieces are now in the front, and you don't have to do that rotation stuff. So just kind of fiddle with this stuff, kind of angle this. These little bits here you can kind of put however you really want, but you kind of want them to be lined up there. Get him situated, and then you take the cannon. Now, like I said, you can do this. I mean, there's a peg hole for it, but you have two sections right here. One on his forearm, one on the lower part of his bicep area. You can plug it in there, and that's fine, but you know, it sits down a little bit lower. What you really want to do is rotate that around. You want that on that side so that now the cannon doesn't dangle quite as much. So that's the proper sort of look for it. But when you're done, there you have the Herald of Unicron, transformed and looking absolutely fantastic. You know, and again, I talk about the little masterpiece aspect with a lot of these figures from time to time, and in my opinion, the only real way that you can top a lot of these new figures that we're getting is to give it that treatment. This guy is fantastic looking all the way around. It absolutely looks how Galvatron should look. I really am just that impressed. Now, let's do some comparisons. Obviously, we're going to have to take a look at his buddy. So here we have, and you can see, again, great scale here. I think that it looks really nice between these two. Here we have Scourge. That does get a little bit smaller, but that makes absolute sense because he is a little bit smaller. And this is a great shot. I love the way that all these guys look. And it's impressive because, you know, it's the Studio Series and then Kingdom, so it kind of spans the different lines that are currently out. And there's a good continuity there. I really am impressed with it. And it's funny because, like I said, 5 years ago, I thought that this was the best. And at the time, it was. But this is what they're able to do when they really put their mind to it seems. I mean, there is a huge difference between them. I mean, obviously he still looks like Galvatron, but when you look at all the the side or the back bits and everything, I mean, he just cleans up so remarkably well that honestly, the only way that I can see this getting better is if they give us a masterpiece. Now, here is the Earthrise Megatron. Obviously, we know that Megatron becomes Galvatron. Bit of a spoiler, but yes, I have seen Kingdom, and without getting into too much, these two share a considerable amount of screen time in the new series. Granted, he doesn't look like that, but no, that might have been a spoiler. But this guy is terrific. It looks even better when you actually do get the properly assembled shoulders or even fix them yourself. Now, people have complained about the battle damage. You got a little bit here on the arms and then here on the chest. It doesn't bother me all that much, to be totally honest. I know some people are annoyed with it and go as far as removing it. And you could absolutely do that. It's like 90%. I don't actually know, but you use a certain amount of alcohol and then you can rub that completely off, I guess. It doesn't bother me really all that much. Anybody that gets that incredibly hysterical about it, I feel is just, in my opinion, nitpicking. I mean, granted, there really isn't anywhere else, so that does kind of stand out because you don't really see it anywhere else on the figure, but it's not bad. To me, it just kind of almost looks like cell shading to a degree. But look at that head sculpt. That is gorgeous. Absolutely has that Galvatron look and feel. His cannon looks wonderful. I love how they got a darker orange, and then you get the translucent section here. That looks really good. Of course, you got the Decepticon logo, his little abdomen section. I don't like these. I don't even know why, but I mean, he had that, and they're replicated beautifully here. Now, these bits here, I do wish they would tab in, and they kind of do, because you got a little tab section here that really doesn't serve any purpose other than robot mode. You lock that in there. The problem, though, is when you lock it in there, you can't rotate the arms. So that's kind of annoying. You kind of have to leave that detached so that you can swivel that around. So I wish that did kind of lock up a little bit easier, because they do kind of move around, but it's not really too noticeable. Legs look good. I mean, obviously it has that very Galvatronish sort of look like I was talking about. These heels, you don't necessarily need to use them, so setting that there, I mean, he stands perfectly fine without those heels, but it does kind of give him a bit of a kind of flat look back here. I feel like they just put that in there just to kind of give him some extra look. I mean, you could have given him a much smaller heel spur, I feel. It didn't need to be that long of one. You cut it in half, and I think it would have been perfectly fine. But really, a very, very solid figure. First articulation, the head is on a ball joint. Now, that part moves around. I do kind of wish that also locked down. So you get a little bit of side-to-side and rotation, all that kind of stuff, looking left and right, all that. The shoulders here are on swivel, so you can move that all the way around. You have hinges going in and out. As you can see, you do have an upper bicep rotation. You have 2 elbow joints, which is kind of part of the transformation. This was interesting. These actually hinge in and out as part of the transformation, but they also put in a swivel there, which that's kind of surprising, but a leader class figure has higher price points, so you can do things like that, I guess. Come down here to the waist, and you can rotate him there perfectly fine. These little bits here move in and out, forward and back, so you can kind of get that out of the way. You also have this little piece, which I don't get, because that literally doesn't need to move, because it doesn't hinder his articulation there at his hip, so I don't get it. But you got that joint for in and out, forward and back. You do have a rotation at the mid part of the thigh. You do have a bend here at the knee. The ankles do tilt in and out, but don't really do anything forward and back. They're kind of locked right there. So I feel like you can't really get too dramatic of poses with the feet, because you can't hinge them forward and back. But in general, I love the way that this guy looks. I'm just so incredibly happy with him. He just like nails everything that I would want in a Galvatron for the most part. Now you do have 2 whole sections here, so you can put it there. You can also put it down there, but that makes it right on the forearm, which in some scenes he did have that attached to his actual forearm as opposed to that upper part. So It's personal preference, really, but I feel like when you put it down here, it makes it sit down a little bit lower. So I don't know. I kind of like leaving it up there, and then you can still get that kind of iconic pose where he's blasting like that, where the cannon is kind of on the top section. So you can pretty much do whatever you really want with this guy. He's just a really very well done figure. I can't honestly think of many gripes. Now for his transformation back, we're going to take this off. This is going to, you'll play with that here in a little bit because that's going to go into two different places. Come around here to the wrists. You're going to rotate those down and in to the forearms like so. Kind of bring this up. You got a little tab here. You're going to fold these up using that double jointed elbow. You get that to lock into place. And then this, if you had it there, you're just going to fold it forward like so. So again, do that on this side. Get that lined up. Fold this forward. Kind of sit that just like that. These kind of get in the way, so just move them out as much as you can. Come around here to the legs. Take this. Fold this out. Then bring this around. You got this little slot section right here that's going to lock in there. So just fold that around like that along the side. Do it on this side as well. Bring that around just like that. And then rotate these around, bringing these two halves together and give that a good squeeze, locking all of this in. You kind of, let's see here, get it all lined up. Perfect. There we go. Give that a good squeeze just like so. Come around here to the back section. You can take this, pull this away, take this, fold this back, and then this is going to come up, and you got a little slot and tab right here. Just going to bring this around, lock that down, and then just kind of hinge that back. Come up to this piece, and this will, oh, separate these arms. I'm sorry. Pull these away like that. Bring these down. Get these kind of out of the way. Bring that whole section down like so, and then take this, fold this, then this piece here is going to separate. There we go. Rotate that back, and then you're going to bring these legs down. So rotate that all the way down like that, or wait, no, like that. There we go. And then this, bring that up, tuck that in like so. Let's see here. All right, bring this down, hinge that up, and then this whole piece here, bring that back down like that, and then collapse that in. Then bring this down. You got little tabs underneath here that you just push that locks that into place just like so. These little bits are going to stay right up there, and then bring this down and around. This is the part, like I said, I'm not a big fan of that. So you want these kind of like that in the front. Get that a good push, and then make sure that's there. Like I said, I don't particularly like these little portions down here. They lock in, but it just, I'm nervous over time with it, and it's hard to see, so I feel like you might push it in the wrong way. But you lock that down, and then, oh, that already locked down. There we go. Well, that's pretty easy. That just locks in when it wants to. Keep that up, kind of angle these how you see fit, kind of getting them in a straight pose. Take this cannon, we're going to plug this in just like that. That stays down there. This is going to come around here to the back. Spin that around. That's going to peg in right there. And then take these, fold that down, and then fold this middle section down as well. And there it is. Really fairly simple to do, but honestly enjoyable to transform them. If you really wanted to, you can take these pieces, and these have the little slots right here. You actually tab them into these giant bits right there. So you just kind of push that in if you want to do that, but I'm not going to. I guess if I was to give a complaint, I wish that this was purple because it was purple in the movie, and then you could have, this thing going on. But when you're done, there you have Galvatron back in his cannon mode. But all in all, I am really very impressed with this figure. Obviously, his cannon mode is weird. It's a giant space cannon. It doesn't really have to resemble anything too spectacular, like a car or a truck or jet or something like that, because he kind of is a weird alt mode. Because he kind of has a weird alt mode, they can kind of get away with some, like this stuff, like, hanging off or whatever. There are liberties that they're able to take because of that kind of strange shape. The transformation on them is actually fairly fun. There are parts that I'm a little bit iffy about, like those little tab sections I was showing you. I hope that those hold over time, but for something like that, we're going to have to wait for time to be the ultimate kind of judge on that. Robot mode, though, is where I think this guy really truly shines. He looks absolutely fantastic. Aside from the kind of personal nitpick about the paint being on him, which doesn't bother me really at all, I can't find any flaws with this figure. And as I've said several times already in this review, the only way that I think that they could do this guy better would be a masterpiece version. I really think that this guy is that darn good. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. There's your look at the new Transformers Kingdom Leader Class Galvatron. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I'd really appreciate if you would show me that by simply hitting that thumbs up button. Believe it or not, that one very small gesture really does go a long way towards helping me out, and I would really very much appreciate it. And as always, remember that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you for watching and taking the time to be a kid.